Captain Marvel. This is my spoiler review. I have a non-spoiler review up on my blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. You can check that out there. There's other reviews on there for other things, TV shows and whatnot. But this is my spoiler review of Captain Marvel. If you don't want to know the spoilers, don't watch this video. There's really actually not a ton of spoilers in my opinion, but I just want to do a review without holding back. I gave this movie a 2.5 stars out of 5. I think at one point I was kind of leaning towards going 3 stars, but I realized I was just giving it extra credit for being a Marvel movie and having like Marvel characters in it that I like, and I think that wasn't really fair. So I'm pretty happy with the 2.5 out of 5. Although a lot of people go a lot lower. A lot of people hated this. I've heard people say it's the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie so far. Seen other people say it was great and they really loved it, but I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought there was a lot of issues with it. A lot of things kind of turned me off about it, but I think overall it was okay. It starts off really strong, and it kind of takes a direction you don't expect. It's all her training on the Kree homeworld and their mission. It all seems fresh. It seems new. You don't really know exactly where the movie's going to go, even though you've seen the trailers. You kind of got some rough idea how it's going to go. And then basically once she comes to Earth, it kind of clicks, and everything you see in the trailers, you got a pretty good idea where the story's going at that point. Just her, she's going to be on Earth, she's going to realize she used to live there, that she has a past, and at the end she's going to kind of embrace her new destiny and her old destiny and have the cool costume and fly around and blow up some spaceships in the final battle. And that's roughly what you get. I think the biggest twist storyline wise is that late in the film found out that the Skrulls are not the villains. They're actually being persecuted by the Kree, and the Kree are the real villains. But that revelation doesn't change the story very much at all. Just instead of her fighting a bunch of Skrulls at the end of the movie, she just fights a bunch of Kree at the end of the movie and blows up their spaceships. And character arc wise, yeah, it's a big deal, but the overall story, I don't think it changed a whole lot. There wasn't any major surprises. No crazy characters showing up. Might have been interesting to see some more 1990s era, MCU characters, but we got nothing besides what we've seen. As far as the characters that we do know about, I thought Brie Larson did a fine job. I mean, she wasn't mind-bogglingly great, but I didn't think a lot of people thought she was terrible. Her line delivery was supposedly terrible. I thought it was fine for what she was playing. Trying to be this kind of stoic warrior that's got these lapses in her memory, but she still has a sense of humor. She's still a little playful, a little cocky. I thought that was fine. The end, when she's so overpowered, it kind of takes you out of the movie because it's like, well, who's going to beat her? Because she's almost godlike here, and it wasn't a strong enough challenge physically for her at the end. It just came down to her blasting Jude Law's character, which I'll get to in a minute. Actually, I'll get to him now. The initial marketing for the film supposedly said that he was Walter Lawson, who is Mar-Vell, the Kree warrior, Captain Marvel in the books. And as the film got closer to coming out, it started shying away from saying that's who he was. And it turns out, I believe the character's name is Ron Rogg, who was an arch rival actually of Mar-Vell. Jude was okay. He just did his thing. He was a nice mentor character, and then they flipped him that he was evil. Not even necessarily evil, just he was kind of the bad guy. The rest of the Star Force was just there. Nothing to expand on Korath, or nothing really to expand on Ronan. They make some thing in the end about him, well, we have to come back for this girl, but as you know, he died in Guardians of the Galaxy, so I don't know how that's going to even play into anything. Seemed almost like a throwaway line. We get, I believe it's Maria Rambeau, the mother of, I guess she'd be Photon in the comics. She comes in late, strong acting, but you never feel this connection between her and Carol. Like, you don't feel like these two were best friends. I mean, you see pictures and snippets of like video, but you don't feel like these guys were like, once they're together again, that they're like this inseparable pair. And even when Carol gets her memory back, it still doesn't feel like she reconnects the way she should. But strong performance by the actress. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Another mixed bag was Ben Mendelsohn as the villain, Talos. They made kind of a big fuss about him playing Fury's boss. So I'm thinking this is a Skrull that's been on Earth for a while. He's infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and that's going to be a big deal. And then actually he pretty much briefly becomes this guy a little while when he's on Earth during the course of the film, and then he goes back to just being Talos the Skrull the rest of the time. So that was kind of weird. It was almost kind of pointless in a way. Just gave him a chance to basically act without the makeup on, as opposed to shape-shifting to some other person, so being played by a different actor. Samuel L. Jackson was good in it, a little cheesy at times. The CGI effects for the de-aging was almost flawless. I mean, you stop trying to pick it apart after a while because it's so hard to find any mistakes. He just looks like a younger guy. He doesn't move like a younger guy. He looks a little, his body looks a little bulkier than he did back then, and you can tell he's like, but doing anything in physical, like running upstairs, or kind of getting up, he moves slower because obviously the actor himself is not that young anymore. I thought the Coulson CGI shit didn't look as good. I mean, he's not in that many scenes, but something looked a little off to me about him. Maybe it's just my imagination. The effects overall were solid. I thought some of the stuff at the end was a little bad. Not bad, but just no noticeable CGI, especially with Carol flying through space. Anytime they had to show the cat, Goose, doing anything like slightly out of the ordinary that requires CGI, it was very obvious it was CGI. I know people kept saying he stole the show. He did have a couple good scenes late. He also goes into one of the most controversial things in the movie. Something that a lot of fans predicted was that he'd be responsible for Fury losing his eye, which is the case. It was just kind of wasn't anything like crazy about it. It was just some random scratch on his eye, and then for some reason he lost his eye from it. It was really weird. It didn't really actually explain why this scratch was so bad. I mean, I know he's supposed to be an alien, but I don't know. The whole thing was kind of mishandled. I really wish they wouldn't have gone that route. I think the action in the film was actually pretty mediocre. There was a pretty nice fight scene with Carol taking out a bunch of Skrull guards, and for the most of it she couldn't use her blast, so that was a pretty solid scene. But the scene where she's fighting the Star Force was just mediocre. Just kind of stuff, it wasn't really focused. It was kind of hard to tell what's going on. Most of the people are wearing the same color costumes, and they got blue skin, and one's is a girl at least, so she stands out. But it wasn't anything that great. At the end of it, like I said, she's just too overpowered, so it's just basically her flying around just annihilating spaceships and catching giant missiles. So it just felt like there was no threat. Like it felt like there was no stopping her. As far as the film taking place in the 90s, it was another mixed bag. I mean, they throw in a lot of 90s songs that, kind of catch the feel, which is okay. Sometimes I felt a little, going out of their way to say, hey, it's the 90s, here's a 90s song. But other times I felt like, okay, she's going into a bar, she's going somewhere in the 90s, and this music would be playing. Thought it was really corny, playing the No Doubt, So I'm Just a Girl, which you had the big fight scene at the end. Also think it took away some of the tension that we knew she didn't have the Tesseract in that lunchbox. I think it would have been better if we thought she had it and she was trying to protect it, and everyone's trying to get it and she's trying to keep away from the bad guys, and then we find out, she didn't have it. And instead they'd rather have the gag with the cat swallowing it. But I think they could have did that later. Oh, absolutely loved the intro, the Marvel logo with, instead of the clips from different MCU films, we get all the Stan Lee cameos. Yeah, that was just very well done, very kind of emotional, kind of brought a tear to my eye. Like Stan's little cameo later in the film, just the Mallrats era, Stan Lee was, nice little touch. Going back to the characters, since we didn't get the Walter Lawson Marvel with Jude Law, we actually got her with Annette Bening's character, who turns out I think it was Wendy Lawson Marvel. Not too upset with the gender swap on it, just the fact that we really didn't get to see this pretty classic Marvel hero in their glory. She we basically just see her as a scientist, and it's really not that long before she ends up being killed. We don't get to see her in any kind of costume and being a badass at it or anything cool like that. So I think that was a little bit of a loss. Plus Marvel, she's the one that became a mentor to Carol Danvers, or he in the books became a mentor to Carol Danvers, not Jan Rog. I mean, I kind of see what they were trying to, how they switched it up, but I wasn't too impressed with it overall. I thought they kind of had a lot of missed opportunities. Post credits, first one was really cool. Obviously, it ties in the end game. Seeing that they found the pager. It was a little weird that Carol just pops up, like standing behind them, and they didn't even notice it. But it was a pretty cool scene. The audience I was with applauded. And then the final one with just the cat hacking up the Tesseract was just cheesy. Like, it wouldn't have hurt my feelings if I missed it, and then someone just told me afterwards what happened. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But I said, overall the film was okay. I said, it just starts off strong. It kind of goes paint by numbers, origin story after that, and it ends, I think it actually ends kind of weak as well, because she's too overpowered. Just annihilate everything, and then she goes off with the Skrulls to live happily ever after until Endgame, and she gets her page and has to come back. So I don't have much else to say about it. Like I said, if you want to again read the original review with less spoilers, it might be a little more coherent than me just rambling here. It's on soundedbettermyhead.com. I have some other reviews up there, some TV show reviews. I have my comic strips. So thanks for watching.